Welcome to Stoic Wisdom Daily. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like the kinder you are, the less respect you get? You go out of your way to be thoughtful. You pick up the slack at work, support friends when they're down, smile at strangers in the grocery store, and somehow, instead of earning more respect, you find yourself overlooked, dismissed, even taken advantage of. It's a painful paradox, isn't it? But here's the truth that Stoic philosophy dares to confront. Kindness without wisdom is often mistaken for weakness. That's not because kindness is wrong. It's because human nature, in its raw form, tests boundaries. And when you fail to set them, people stop seeing your goodness as a gift and start treating it like a given. This video isn't about becoming hard-hearted. It's not about building walls or shutting people out. It's about learning how to pair kindness with strength, how to live with compassion without becoming a doormat. Because in today's world, a world that rewards noise, entitlement, and performance, practicing mindful kindness is more radical than ever. You'll learn why unchecked generosity invites disrespect, how emotional dependence hides beneath people-pleasing, and most importantly, how true Stoic kindness comes from power, not need. This isn't just philosophy. These are principles that can transform how you lead, love, and live. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just be nice, you'll be respected. Let's begin. 1. Kindness must be intentional, not automatic. Let's make one thing clear. Real kindness is never automatic. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not a nervous smile. And it's certainly not saying yes just because you're afraid of letting someone down. Real kindness, Stoic kindness, is a conscious choice, not a reflex, not a performance. Think about this. Every time you say yes when you really want to say no, every time you offer your time, energy, or resources out of guilt, obligation, or fear of disapproval, what you're giving isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment dressed up as virtue, and people can feel the difference, even if they can't put it into words. Take Sarah, for example. She's a nurse in her early 50s. She's always the first to volunteer for overtime, the one who brings coffee for the team, the one who remembers everyone's birthdays. At first, she was appreciated, but over time, something shifted. Her co-workers stopped saying thank you. Her manager began expecting her to cover extra shifts, and when she finally said no, just once, she was met with confusion, even irritation. What happened? Her kindness had become an automatic setting. Not a gift, but a given. Not respected, assumed. Stoic philosophy teaches us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. That means living with intention, not autopilot. When your actions are guided by fear or people-pleasing, they're no longer grounded in virtue. They're just survival mechanisms. True kindness requires courage. The courage to pause before you answer. The clarity to know your limits and the strength to say no when needed. You're not being unkind by saying no. You're being deliberate. And that's the key. When you give because you want to, not because you feel you have to. When you offer your help from a full heart, not an empty tank, that's when your kindness holds weight. And people know it. They feel it. They respect it. So next time you're asked to give your time, your energy, your yes, take a breath. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to? Or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? Because when kindness becomes a fear-based habit, it leads to resentment. But when it comes from strength, it becomes one of the most powerful forces you'll ever carry. Choose to be kind, not to be liked, but to be true to your values. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. 2. Say no without over-explaining. There's a strange pressure in modern life, the idea that every no must come with an apology, a long explanation, or a desperate attempt to soften the blow. But here's a radical truth. You don't owe anyone a story for why you protect your time, your energy, or your peace. You are allowed to say no, clearly, calmly, without guilt. And then, stop talking. That's not rude, that's self-respect. Think of Robert, a project manager at a mid-sized tech firm in Phoenix. Every week someone asked him for, Just a small favor. Cover a shift, take on another deadline, fill in during vacation. And every time he said yes. Not because he wanted to, but because he didn't know how to say no without explaining himself to exhaustion. I'm so sorry, I have family coming into town. I'm really tired this week, but I'll try. I wish I could, but maybe next time. The more he explained, the more they pushed, and the more he gave, the less he was respected. Why? Because over-explaining communicates uncertainty. It signals that your no is negotiable. The Stoics wouldn't tolerate that. Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." In other words, if you try to be everything for everyone, you'll end up being nothing for yourself. In the philosophy of Stoicism, clarity is strength. When you say no with confidence and no apology, you're asserting your values. You're not rejecting the person, you're honoring your priorities, and the right people will understand that. Now, this doesn't mean being cold or abrupt. It means being direct. Simple sentences like, "I won't be able to." "That doesn't work for me." "I'm not available then." They are enough. You don't need to explain. You don't need to feel bad. You don't need to fill the silence. Because the moment you start justifying your boundaries, you start bargaining with your worth. Kindness does not require you to say yes to everything. Compassion does not mean abandoning your own needs. And respect, the kind that truly matters, is built on clarity, not on compliance. So next time you feel pressured to justify your no, stop. Take a breath. Remember who you are. And say it. Once, firmly, with no footnotes. That moment of silence afterward, that's not awkwardness. That's the sound of your self-respect echoing through the room. 3. Reward appreciation, not entitlement. There's a quiet rule in life that too many people learn too late. Whatever you tolerate, you teach. And when it comes to kindness, nothing destroys its value faster than giving it to those who feel entitled to it. Let's talk about a woman named Angela. She worked in healthcare. Long hours, endless demands. The kind of job where compassion isn't optional, it's a requirement. She was known for her reliability. Always the one to cover when someone was sick. Always the one to stay late. Always the one to bring coffee for a tired co-worker without being asked. At first, people thanked her, smiled, even called her a saint. But over time, the gratitude faded. The thank yous disappeared. What was once kindness became an expectation. If she didn't offer help, people asked, "What's wrong with you today?" Not, "How can I help you?" but, "Why aren't you helping me?" Angela hadn't changed, but their perception of her had. She had trained them, unintentionally, to expect everything and appreciate nothing. And here's where Stoicism steps in. Seneca once warned, "He who gives when he is asked has waited too long." In other words, your generosity should be proactive but never mindless. And once it becomes a transaction without gratitude, it ceases to be virtue. It becomes self-neglect. This is a hard line for kind people to draw, especially in a culture that praises selflessness without asking whether it's healthy. But the Stoic path is not about blind giving. It's about disciplined generosity, helping without sacrificing your dignity. Here's the rule. Reward appreciation. Withdraw from entitlement. That doesn't mean keeping score. It means paying attention to patterns. Does this friend only call when they need something? Does your co-worker expect your help, but vanish when you need theirs? Does your partner receive, without ever recognizing the weight of what you carry? If the answer is yes, then it's time to step back. Not in anger, but in wisdom. Marcus Aurelius put it clearly, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And if your mind is filled with resentment, exhaustion, and silent frustration, your kindness is being misused. Respect starts from within. When you value your time, your energy, and your emotional labor, others will too. But when you give endlessly to those who take it for granted, you don't just lose their respect. You begin to lose your own. So be generous, be kind, but be selective. Give to those who see your efforts, who honor them, who return them in whatever way they can. Because kindness, when appreciated, multiplies. But kindness, when expected, corrodes. Protect your heart from quiet exploitation. And remember, a boundary is not a punishment, it's a message. It says, I value myself too much to keep giving where I'm not seen. And that is the first step toward commanding true respect. 4. Be generous, but not at your own expense. Generosity is a virtue. But when it starts draining you, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it stops being kindness. It becomes self-neglect. Let me tell you about David. He was a high school teacher in Ohio, passionate, dedicated, the kind of guy who stayed after class to help students, bought supplies with his own money, and volunteered for every school event. His co-workers called him the heart of the school. But over the years, David's smile faded. He was exhausted. He missed family dinners. He hadn't taken a real vacation in 6 years. His students still loved him, but no one seemed to notice he was running on empty. One afternoon, after a full day of teaching and a 3-hour PTA meeting, David drove home in silence, and he realized something painful. He was giving to everyone, except himself. That's the moment of reckoning many generous people face. The Stoics would not call this virtue. They would call it imbalance, because true kindness must come from a place of strength, not depletion. Seneca taught, he who is everywhere is nowhere. If you pour yourself out for everyone all the time, you disappear in the process. In today's world, especially in American culture where productivity is king, there's a dangerous myth. The more you sacrifice, the more you're worth. But that's not respect. That's martyrdom. And martyrs don't last long. Here's the Stoic truth. You cannot give your best to others if you have nothing left inside. Ask yourself, does helping others fill me or empty me? Do I feel appreciated or expected? Am I serving from abundance or from guilt? Generosity should leave you lighter, not broken. It should energize you, not wear you down. When kindness costs your peace, your health, or your identity, it's no longer a gift. It's a warning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Extend that to giving. If it drains your soul, it is not right. If it erodes your joy, it is not true kindness. So what's the answer? Set a budget, not just for your money, but for your energy. Give thoughtfully. Prioritize who and what matters most. And understand that saying no to others is often saying yes to your own well-being. Because your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice, it's measured by how wisely you give. Protect your energy. It's not selfish, it's stoic. 5. Be kind, but don't seek approval. There's a quiet desperation in the way some people are kind. They smile, they offer, they help. But beneath it all, there's fear. Fear of not being liked, fear of rejection, fear of being seen as difficult, selfish, or too much. This kind of kindness isn't strength, it's strategy. And the people around you, they can feel the difference. Meet Lisa, an HR manager in Phoenix. Intelligent, thoughtful, the kind of person who remembers everyone's birthday and says yes to every request, no matter how tired she is. But Lisa isn't kind because she wants to be. She's kind because she's afraid not to be. She fears that the moment she says no, people will think less of her. That if she doesn't show up for everyone every time, they'll stop inviting her, stop including her, stop loving her. So she stretches herself thin. She laughs when she's not okay. She gives until she's empty. And still, somehow, it's never enough. Here's the truth. Approval is a bottomless well. The more you seek it, the deeper it sinks. And the more you chase being liked, the more you lose sight of something far more valuable, being respected. The Stoics understood this long before social media or performance reviews. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Real kindness, Stoic kindness, doesn't need applause. It doesn't come with strings attached. It isn't a trade for praise or a disguise for insecurity. It comes from values, not validation. Ask yourself, am I kind because it's who I am? or because I'm afraid of what happens if I'm not. If you say yes just to avoid conflict, if you go along just to be liked, if you silence your needs to keep the peace, you're not living with virtue. You're negotiating your worth. Here's what the Stoics would tell you. You don't need to be liked to be good. You need to be true. When you act with integrity, when your kindness is rooted in strength, you may disappoint some people. That's okay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you cold. Let them drift away. Because the people who truly matter, they won't need you to perform kindness. They'll see it in you. So be kind, but be kind because it aligns with your character. Not because you crave approval, not because you're afraid of being alone. Stand firm in your values. Let your yes mean something. Let your no mean peace. And most importantly, let your kindness be an offering, not a bargain. You don't need their permission to be good. You just need the courage to live it. 6. Protect your energy as fiercely as your time. We often hear, time is your most valuable resource, but that's only half the truth. Your energy, your emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity is just as sacred, maybe more, because what good is an empty hour if your soul is drained? Think about it. You protect your calendar. You decline meetings. You schedule workouts. You guard your lunch break. But how often do you guard your peace, your focus, your emotional bandwidth? Not all thieves wear masks. Some show up as friends who only call when they need something. Others appear as co-workers who offload their drama into your lap. Some hide in plain sight, people you love who take and take, but rarely give. And if you don't learn to protect your energy, they'll take all of it. Let me tell you about Caleb, a nurse from Houston. He's the type of guy everyone leans on. When a shift runs over, he stays. When a friend's going through it, he listens. When his sister calls at 2 a.m. in tears, he picks up. But months go by, and Caleb starts to change. He's tired all the time, snaps at patients, ignores calls, starts resenting the very people he once felt honored to help. Why? Because he gave without refueling. He gave from depletion, not abundance. And eventually, his kindness turned into bitterness. The Stoics would call this a violation of self-respect. Marcus Aurelius warned, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Translation? You can't control who drains you, but you can control whether you let them. It's not rude to set emotional boundaries. It's not selfish to walk away from someone who exhausts you. It's not cold to say, "I don't have the space for this right now." In fact, it's one of the kindest things you can do for yourself and for them. Because when you protect your energy, you show up better, clearer, stronger, wiser. Ask yourself, who lifts me up and who weighs me down? Which conversations leave me refreshed and which leave me resentful? Am I showing up in this relationship or am I just surviving it? You owe no one unlimited access to your inner life. You can be kind and still say, "Not today." You can be generous and still choose who receives it. You can love someone and still draw a line they cannot cross. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Because without it, your time is just a shell. But with it, you can live with purpose, strength, and grace. 7. Know when to walk away. There's a moment in life, not loud, not dramatic, when you realize the most powerful thing you can do is leave. Not slam the door, not make a scene. Just quietly walk away. From the friend who only calls when they need something. From the partner who stops trying but keeps expecting. From the job that drains your soul but pays just enough to keep you afraid. Because sometimes the real act of strength isn't staying. It's knowing when enough is enough. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus reminded us, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you. Not because we're better than others, but because our peace is not up for negotiation. You don't owe your presence to people who don't respect your absence. You don't owe your energy to people who misuse your kindness. And you certainly don't owe your loyalty to a place that's killing your potential. Serena. a talented engineer in Colorado. Her boss constantly dismissed her ideas, took credit for her work, and told her she was too sensitive when she spoke up. For 2 years, she stayed, hoping things would change, trying to prove her worth, exhausting herself, until one morning she woke up and realized she didn't need to fight for a seat at a table that didn't value her. So she walked away. No shouting, no email blast, just a resignation letter, and the quiet confidence of someone who finally chose herself. That's the thing about walking away. It's not about giving up. It's about moving on, with dignity, with clarity, with strength. So ask yourself honestly, who or what have you been holding on to out of fear, not love? What would happen if you stopped trying to fix what keeps breaking you? Are you staying out of courage or out of habit? Walking away isn't failure, it's freedom. And sometimes, the bravest thing you'll ever do is stop trying and start protecting your peace. You're not heartless for choosing distance. You're wise for choosing yourself. There's a dangerous myth floating around that kindness means giving endlessly, pleasing everyone, and sacrificing yourself in the process. But that's not virtue. That's self-erasure. True kindness is never blind. It is generous, but guided. It is warm, but not weak. It is compassionate, but built on the unshakable foundation of self-respect. Because without self-respect, your kindness becomes currency, something you hand out in exchange for approval, love, or a sense of belonging. And the moment people sense that your goodness is driven by fear or insecurity, they stop valuing it. They expect it, demand it, abuse it. The Stoics never taught us to be doormats. They taught us to be strong, discerning, principled. Marcus Aurelius ruled with kindness, but never allowed himself to be ruled by the opinions of others. Seneca wrote of generosity, but warned against pouring yourself into people who refuse to hold your worth. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, taught this simple truth: no man is free who is not master of himself. You see, not everyone is worthy of your kindness. That's a hard truth, but a necessary one. If someone treats your generosity like an obligation, if they guilt you into giving, if they grow cold when you say no, they were never respecting your kindness, they were using it. So what's the lesson here? Be kind, fiercely kind. But let that kindness come from strength, not scarcity. Set boundaries not to push people away, but to protect your peace. Say no when needed, not to be difficult, but to stay honest. Give, but only when it aligns with your values, not your fear. Because when your kindness is rooted in clarity and self-respect, it becomes powerful. It becomes something others admire, not exploit. And more importantly, it becomes sustainable. It doesn't leave you burnt out, bitter, or broken. It builds you. The Stoic life is not about detachment from the world. It's about engaging with the world wisely. It's about giving without losing yourself, loving without abandoning your own needs, helping others without hollowing out your soul. So the next time you feel guilty for drawing a line, the next time someone makes you feel bad for not saying yes, that remember this: your kindness is a gift. Not everyone deserves it, and you don't owe it to those who don't respect it. You weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be strong, wise, and free. Give freely, but give wisely. That's not selfish. That's Stoic. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Stoic Wisdom Daily for more timeless lessons, and share this video with someone who needs it. Let your kindness be wise, let your strength be quiet, and together let's grow stronger, one Stoic step at a time.